We are recording with Mr. Joe Oltmann on Tuesday, March 12th, 2024 at 1:27 p.m. Eastern Time. And real quick, guys, podcast is sponsored by American Heart for Gold. Text Tommy 65532. And kind of what you're just talking about is I don't really care what a company sells. If they're willing to sponsor me, I think that's cool enough because there's nothing is safe. I mean, Spotify, as I was just telling you, Spotify took down one of my episodes last week. First time doing this show since December 2019. 1000. This is episode 1436. They've never touched an episode before, and I've done truly, quite literally, hundreds of episodes about COVID vaccine injuries with every doctor out there. I don't even know why they took that one. It's just such an odd one to take down. Um, and for the same reason, I keep all my podcasts on external hard drives in multiple locations is because I trust no one. I've become completely paranoid. I trust no one. Rumble's super cool. They've never taken down any of my stuff. But you were just talking about suppression on Rumble. I think it's just safe to assume that there is nowhere safe. Everyone has a price. Everyone has a breaking point. Everyone has a pressure point that they will bend the knee on. And it's kind of sad. But at the same time, it is just what it is. And the only way it will ever stop is if people stop bending over for it. So with that, Joe, please introduce yourself, man.
My name is Joe Oltmann. I got involved in I'm a tech CEO. I'm back in this driver's seat of my tech companies. I'm also one of the largest sellers of guns and ammo in the state of Colorado. We have 3 stores and 5 ranges. I got involved in politics quite by accident. Most of my life has been quite by accident, but I started off in the reopen movement back when COVID was a
Mm-hmm.
big and frankly, I'm not a guy that likes to go against. I don't trust the government. I've never trusted the government. So I got involved because I saw they were taking the Constitution, balling it up, throw it in the trash. From that point, I happened to get involved in the Dominion voting system thing because I was on the call with Eric Coomer and came forward with that. I now live in a house with bulletproof glass, thermal cameras, I carry a gun everywhere I go,
Fuck
and I
yeah.
speak out about constitutional integrity and election fraud in the machines that exist all over the country. So I just got back from the East Coast and heading to uh, Arizona here in a few days.
I'm not a fan of you. Bulletproof glass and thermal cameras. Fuck yeah, man. I mean, I've always thought like, dude, if I ever got the money, yeah, no, that's what I'd do. Bulletproof. I'd want straight up. Yeah, I'd want walls that no one can shoot through. Yeah, no, I'd want a spot kind of like an M. I had on a guy once a couple of years ago from the DSS, I think the Department of State Security Service. Um, and he would talk about embassies and stuff and the safe rooms there. And I've always thought like, I just want to assume that one day my home and where I live will be equally unsafe as an embassy in some third world shithole, and I need a safe room. But yeah, that is kind of where it goes. Is when I first got banned off YouTube, I just remember thinking I was like, well, if it happened there, it's gonna start happening everywhere, and it's gonna be months or years, but it will happen. And I started offloading my podcasts onto external hard drives. I put them in EMP bags, put those in fireproof bags, put those in bulletproof safes. People have been like, "You're paranoid," and then like one by one, just getting banned from platform after platform. And then what was it last week or the week before? There's the solar flare and all of Meta went down. Yeah, man. I don't. Being paranoid is no longer an insult; it's a compliment. And um,
Well, I mean, look, in November and December of 2020, people came to my house with guns. I mean, it was a real thing. They sent powder to my house. I had hazmat, the FBI,
mm-hmm.
the office, all came to my house in order to make sure that everything was safe there. So, I mean, I've been under constant attack. But you talk about not being able to shoot through walls. I had to put metal plates in the walls
Yeah,
so I could protect my family in case someone did decide to shoot into my home.
yeah. No, that's awesome. And yeah, I've become friends with some ex like Delta Force guys. And I've always been like, man, if I get the money, I'm gonna have them scout out like a spot for me and find the spot that's the hardest to get to. But it is no joke. I guess because we've got a limited amount of time, but I guess my thoughts would be, or and picking your brain is, it's when you get older and you find out Santa's not real. It's not that Santa died. It's that it slowly dawns on you that Santa was never there, right? And it's less painful that way because you go, there's nothing to miss because it wasn't there. It's not like losing a family member or a dog where you once had the thing and now you don't. It's something that was never there. I I think I'm trying. It doesn't make it any better, but it might make it more palatable. Did we ever really have? I mean, clearly it's written into the Constitution as we do, but as far back as Operation Mockingbird in the '50s with the CIA infiltrating the top six media companies, did we ever have free speech in the age of, I guess, mass communication? That doesn't make it any better now, but it does maybe make the fight a little more. I know for me, I'm a little more ready for it because I'm like, oh, we've never had it. This isn't new. It's just the mask is falling off with the now that everyone has access to it, they have to play such a wide game of whack-a-mole that it was only a matter of time before we found out about the Twitter files, or we saw those little banners under YouTube videos, COVID-19, and you click on this, go to the CDC, or the AP has not called the 2020 election and all that stuff. And maybe those things were always in place, and we're just now seeing it. But the reality is I've probably never lived in a world of free speech, and I would argue maybe even my parents never have. Do you think there's any validity to that, or is it just getting worse?
No, I think it's actually getting better. I think
Okay.
this is the great awakening, right? So, prior to 2020, I didn't care. Like
Yeah.
I had enough money that I could get myself out of any trouble I got into. I had free speech. I mean, unfettered free speech because I had the ability to defend and protect myself. Now, what's happened is you have the wizard behind the curtain. We're
Mm.
allowed to talk about in a slow burned way some of the facts that are out there. So we were, you talk about COVID, you're allowed to talk about the fact that you have prophylactics like ivermectin,
Mm-hmm.
but they're not going to let you talk about it because if you talk about it, then it's not an emergency situation. You don't have
Mm.
any need for the emergency. And so you can start seeing that exposed what happened with Big Pharma and how Big Pharma then moved into other vaccines and childhood vaccines. And so now you have this great away. It's like pulling out the Jenga pieces. One
Mm.
by one, it's ready to just collapse. But there's so many other issues, which is why they create chaos. In chaos, it's very difficult to see things clearly. And
Yeah.
so in our country, we're constantly being fed these lies. And I said this, I was talking to Scott McKay yesterday, and I said, listen, at some point, we've gotten to that place where we know that we don't have free speech. We know that the CIA is running from, hey, I want to work for the CIA. You know what? I think I'm going to go work for the Facebook. That's you could go from working from the intelligence community to working for Facebook or working for CNN. We know it's not real. We know
Yeah.
that it's an operation. We know that they never left the CIA.
Yeah.
They just came over here in
Yeah.
order to run those operations, right? So we just have now that we know that, what do we do with it? Like how do we
Mm.
react to that? And how do we build a fraternity of men and women in our country that are driven by the idea that we're going to hold these people accountable? And I think that's what they're most afraid of, is that this is an information age. And because we can see what the CIA and the FBI and all these people are doing, now we just have to get to a place where we have enough confidence and courage to overcome the fear of the unknown. Like we know that they can persecute us at any minute. Are we willing to stand up regardless of that persecution? I think there's a lot more people that are willing to do that now. Now it's just a matter of creating that density of people that are willing to hold the ethos of what they do to you, they do to me,
Mm.
right? So then I'm willing to stand up for you and have my life be taken for standing up for you. That's
Mm.
going to be.
Yeah. And I think there is an important kind of tip. Not I wouldn't even say tipping point, but maybe maturation or realization that there is no avoiding whatever world they're trying to set up, and that you have to fight it or you have to live under it. And temporally, you could maybe be like, hey, I'm not going to rock the boat. I got my family, I got my job, I'm not touching it. And you might be good for a couple years or maybe even a decade, but eventually the system will come and steamroll you. So there is this It's like stand up now, or it's like running up the deck of the Titanic. It's like, all right, man, yeah, sure, you can run 30 feet that way, but like you are gonna hit a point where you hit the railing, and then it's just everywhere you look is just freezing water. So it's I don't wanna, but at some point you do got to put on your life jacket and jump and try to make it to a boat. Like it's not fun. No one, I'm sure there are some people that are like Braveheart that are ready. I'm not. I'm 33, man. I don't want to do this stuff, but there is a moment of rational realization of where you go, if I don't do this now, I mean, I remember in 2020 when I first started getting warnings on YouTube and then strikes on YouTube. So just as a microcosm, I just remember looking at it, like really kind of evaluating it, and was like, it's going to start with elections, but in a matter of months or years, there's going to be another topic and then another topic and then another topic. And eventually I'm going to start getting like retroactive strikes for, shows I had done. And ultimately, not only was it the right thing to do, because I believe in free speech, but it was also just like, there's no point in trying to build my show here because this is not on a solid foundation. So there's also just like it's not even like a bravery thing. It's just you just hit a rational point where again, you look at the Titanic, you go, I mean, how much more deck do we have, right?
Well, imagine how you feel though getting censored off of a platform.
Hmm.
I mean, I've been kicked off Twitter now twice. They said that I use violent speech. I never use violent speech.
Yeah.
I didn't. I was calling out Sununu on this last one for his talks about, Trump being assassinated and that, with him will die MAGA, right?
Hmm.
So, um, and then before that, I had 225,000 people that followed me on Twitter gone. Facebook, I'm completely suppressed. Conservative Daily in almost every environment. I have a Wikipedia page that calls me an anti-Semite and a bigot, and I don't even know what else. I'm a homophobe.
Misogynist, xenophobe, anti-Semitic, transphobe. Yeah.
I mean, it's just and you start looking at the other platforms and what they do. It's you call it retroactive strikes. I have retroactive strikes that I've gotten on YouTube. I finally had to just bury the channel for
Yeah.
90 days so I could hold on to the data that's on the channel. And then Twitch, I got kicked off of Twitch. Reddit got kicked off of Reddit. I've been kicked off almost every platform, and it's not to me. I keep going back to the fundamentals, and the fundamentals are what am I saying that is so enraging or so controversial that you would want to suppress my voice. And you get back to the same thing. When you speak truth, you become a target. You become a person that will lead people to understand other things that are happening.
Hmm.
It's dangerous. These people just don't want. It's just dangerous for them.
And it's well again, it's that ancient. It's like some proverb. Three things could not long be hidden: the sun, the moon, and the truth. And there is a reality with that for instance, maybe they're super sensitive things are the 2020 election and COVID vaccine injury. But I mean, if you just go more into things, if you go into like a history of CIA coups or a history of, like dark financing and moving through money and using it to, shut down smaller countries and take their resources or all these things is you're pointing towards it's like the problem they had right after we developed the nuclear bomb. Is they said we can't hide this because it's just physics. Anyone with a sufficiently advanced like the idea of an atomic bomb was physicists had realized it years before. It was just we don't know how to, do we have the infrastructure to do it? But you couldn't censor it. It was just, if you teach someone math after a long enough time, they're going to realize that 1 + 1 is 2 and 5 + 2 is 7 and whatever. You can't hide that. And I think that's where a lot of it comes from is because, what you or I or anyone else is talking about are things that this isn't some esoteric knowledge. It's just basic history. And once one person looks at it, they start looking and they go, "What the fuck?" And then they start reading about it. You're like, "Wait, Pfizer was fined for the largest pharmaceutical fine ever, and that was in 2008. And they were creating Suboxone while selling OxyContin and saying that it wasn't dangerous. And with the Gulf of Tonkin and the USS Liberty, and you start going back and the whole thing starts to unravel like you're pulling on a string." And if you remove the person that's talking about it, it doesn't matter because you've started illuminating basic truth, right? You've started
Right.
once one person knows an atomic bomb's possible, you cannot classify the physics because we live in a world dictated by these, and any lab can find it out. And there is something about that is it's kind of an irreversible series of events that we set in motion when you start teaching people how to look at things. And yeah, I mean, they're evil, they're demons, but rationally, I get it why they'd want to shut us up. I mean, I completely understand it.
Yeah, so it's gotten to that place where you're we're finally we're seeing it, we're speaking about it, people are waking up to it. Now, I gotta tell you something, there's still a ton of people out there who are either dumber than rocks or have their
Head in
head
the sand, yeah.
in. And you try to have a conversation with them and they're like, wait, what? That's happening? They're like, wait, you didn't know that that was happening?
Yeah.
No, I don't watch the news. I'm thinking to myself, how do you avoid for 4 years?
Oh, it's impressive.
I mean, it
It's
really is impressive. This is very impressive.
yeah, no, it's one thing if you meet people and they're just pussies and they're like, "Well, I don't look into that. I don't want any trouble." It's like, "Oh, you have no spine. You're worthless." But some
Yeah.
people you're like, "Yeah, man, you know, all those cases of myocarditis." And they're like, "What's myocarditis?" And you're like, "What?" Like, what? And they're like, "Wait." They're like, "We're not at war with Ukraine, are we?" And it's like, "Do you I don't even watch the news, but like how the it is at a certain point I'm almost like part of me hates them and part of me is like, teach me your ways. How do I how do I
Well,
numb myself?
but they could tell you all the Kardashians' names, and they could tell you that. I
Oh
mean, they could
yeah.
tell. So you know that, right?
Yeah.
You can't tell me anything about what's happening on a geopolitical standpoint in our country, or even I don't know, in your neighborhood.
It is it is a testament to the brilliance of the powers that be though. You know? You can only use steel and guns and tanks and concentration camps so much before you realize there's a farther reach with trinkets and toys and distractions and Taco Bell from Uber Eats and the Kardashians and TikTok and fake tits and ass. And at a certain point, you're like, man, the Nazis would have, they'd be taking notes. They'd be like, oh, no, don't roll in the tanks. They'll start resisting. What you gotta do is just offer the bright colors and the noises and the ding ding ding, your phone's beeping and all right, yeah, and just another
Well,
trillion to Ukraine.
and look at what's happening when you go to a restaurant and you look over and you go, well, that's weird. Their kids are literally sitting there glued to their phones.
Hmm.
This. And their parents are not having conversations with themselves. They're on their phones. Kids are on their phones. Nobody's communicating. And I'm looking around going, what is happening to us?
Hmm.
This is unbelievable.
And that comes into the and that kind of comes back to the whole idea of like you have to the deck on the Titanic. You have to resist it, but then there's also for me it's perhaps also easier. I don't have kids. I'm not married. It's easier for me to kind of just be like screw it. But I start looking at it like I don't I don't want to live in the world where this is going. Like I don't. I'd be lying if I said I didn't fear death. We all do. But there's a part of me that's like, yeah, I don't want any part of this place. If this is where it's going, I don't want to be. You do eventually die. That's the other thing. Is like, even if everything works out well, like you do eventually kick the bucket. I guess I'm just kind of I've made peace with it. Like, yeah, I don't want to be here if this is just where it's going. If it's just gonna look at the changes that have happened in the last 4 years. Look at the changes that have happened from 2016 till now. Trump getting in office till now. What's the next 8 years hold?
Well, I mean, and so here we have to battle plan this. We have to look at this from a battle plan standpoint.
Yeah,
What if they cheat again? Because they're going to cheat again. What
yeah.
if they cheat and we have Biden for 4 more years, right? What and let's hypothetically say that he continues the destruction of our country, which is going to happen.
Mm-hmm.
How much further down can it go? When do we hit bottom? And if we hit bottom, they have illegals in the country. They have
Mm-hmm.
mass amounts of rewards happening for people who are raping and murdering our children, and
Mm-hmm.
others that are trying to cut off body parts and tell them that they're a boy when they should be a girl. And so you've got this gender dysphoria that's becoming normalized. You have a lack of education. People are being taught less today in schools more about social justice, less about actual math, arithmetic, or excuse me, arithmetic, science. They're being taught a ton about, the fact of this new history. Statues are coming down. So in the next 4 years, where are we going to be?
Mm.
And oh, by the way, they're going to take away our guns and your ability to defend yourself. So now you're a sitting duck for the evil of our country and the world. It literally would destroy our country. Like, we would see 70, 80, 90% of this country die off in
Yeah.
the next.
Yeah. And to me, I always just get this uneasy feeling of it's like this big game of musical chairs or something, or it's like a Mexican standoff. Like they're looking at us, we're looking at them, we're looking at them, look at us, and they're looking at us, look at them, and everyone's just kind of there's. You still have food, you still have water, and for the most part, there's still rule of law. I mean, knock on wood, but for the most part, if I go outside right now, throw a brick through, like someone is going to come arrest me. But it's just this odd thing of like everyone's got a hand on like on the waist, and they're all kind of looking at each other, and it's happening slowly, but there is this sort of when is it going to break? When is the first? When's the Lexington and Concord? And then well, and then you have the idea of like, well, they want you to act out because they would love to just roll out the tanks and use draconian control. And then on the other hand, you have a bunch of veterans, you have a bunch of the hardest motherfuckers on earth, guys I've interviewed, who are looking at this and they're like, yeah, I don't take shit from anyone, and I don't care if it's I don't care if it's Bin Laden or if it's my own like senator. They're like, these are just guys who are hyper alphas. They're like, I
Right.
don't. This is what they were bred for.
Those are
And
my brothers.
yeah, those are guys I interview, and those are guys that doesn't matter what I say. If I'm like, hey, don't incite violence, they don't give a shit. They're like, fuck all. Like, there's a reason why they're them and I'm me. Like, but then you have those guys going like, yeah, over my dead body, and they've all to a T all. I mean, talk about canary in the coal mine. Every special forces, Green Beret, Navy SEAL, Delta Force, CIA ground branch guy I've interviewed, they all have, in the time I've known them, have all sold everything, moved out to the woods, and are like just stacking their armories. And I'm like, that's not a good indication of where things are going. And I think you have a lot of people that are looking at it going like, my life does eventually end. And, I don't like where things are going. And it doesn't matter what I say to them. It doesn't matter if I'm like, hey guys, they don't, it's me looking at them, telling them to not be who they are. And, it's also tricky because the powers that be want you to act out violently so that all the retards will go, can you please bring in daddy government and bring in security? So it is this game of musical chairs, Mexican standoff of everyone staring at each other. Someone's gonna fire the first shot, and it's nothing I want. It's not. But there's a difference between just because I point out something and point out an inevitability doesn't mean I want it. It's like watching 9/11 on TV. You don't want it to happen, but you're like, that building's gonna come down. Doesn't mean that you want it. It's just,
Yeah, so-
yeah.
Well, but here's the other thing we're starting to realize they lied about Iraq, lied about
Mm-hmm.
Sudan. There was no Darfur did not have ethnic cleansing and genocide, never existed. It was about the Abyei district that sits between North and South Sudan. They lied about Egypt, they lied about Syria, they lied about Kenya, they lied about Ghana, they lied about the DRC, they lied about Rwanda. I mean, I can keep on going down the line. The Boko Haram, I
Mm-hmm.
actually from Boko Haram. You're like, oh, they're terrible people. Man, they're tired of being victims in their entire environment based on Western influences. So we lied about the what's it called, the Nord Stream pipeline. Now we find
Mm-hmm.
out that they blew it up, and Germany was probably involved with blowing it up
Mm-hmm.
to hurt supplies to their own country. And the U.S.
Yep.
had a helicopter just above it, just before it blew. And they lie about bombs. They lie about Ukraine. Now they're lying about Egypt or Israel, and we're not allowed to talk about it. And you
Mm.
get censored if you do talk about it. And so you finally at that point where you're like, you know what? Let it roll. Fuck it.
Yeah.
Let's just roll. So all these guys that literally are like, when it clacks off, I'm ready. Those are the guys you want to stay close to.
Yeah.
But if you tip that gun towards them in the wrong direction, you better make sure it's headed the direction towards the people that we're looking at. And this is not a call for violence.
No.
Well, but I'm going to say this. Have you ever seen in the history of the world, ever, can you show me one example where evil people doing bad deeds ever crawled back in a hole because you're like, I caught you. I caught you. You're evil. And they're like, oh, you caught
Oh,
me.
they got us.
Got me.
All
Oh.
right. Marco Polo. All right. Hitler's like, all right, all right. No, no,
You
no.
got me.
No, evil takes, and it's the only way it's ever stopped is when it's taken back.
Force.
And that's
Force. Violence. Force.
yeah,
Look, I'm all about the violence when it gets to the point where we need it in order to push evil back that last step. I'm all about it. But right now, we're watching the slow burn of our society, of our very existence, the soul of our nation, and we're sitting back saying there's nothing we can do about it. Let me just tell you something. And I say this a lot, and you're young, you're really young, so I'm going to say this. And do you have any kids? You don't have any
I
kids.
do not know. I'm 33.
All right, you don't have any kids.
Yeah,
Well, let me ask you a question. Do you want kids?
I don't know.
Because you don't want to bring them into this life. You don't want to bring them into this world like this.
Correct.
Right. So that you're the person that needs to have kids. You want to know why?
Why?
You will safeguard your children, and it at all costs, you would make sure that they were not subject to the evil that we're sitting here talking about right now.
Fair.
So you actually need to find a way to have children because you need to be the one to bring us warriors into this world. But let me ask you this. Let's say you did have a child. Do you have a sister?
No, brothers.
All right. Well, that's not the same. You got nieces.
No.
Oh, geez, you're kidding. Well, I'm going to talk about it in this because I think the people listening have heard me say this before, if they've ever heard me speak. And I'm going to give you two choices. You only have two choices. I'm going to tell you these are your two choices. You ready? First, your daughter in the future will be raped every single day. Or you can do something about it. Option two, you can do something about it. She only gets raped once. Choose.
The latter.
All right. Well, I'm going to tell you what my choice is. You ready?
Fuck that. Kill them all.
Huh?
Yeah.
You're not touching my daughter.
Yeah.
You come for my daughter, and I'm going to literally put you all in a box. And you're going to go, well, Joe, that's violent. So they're allowed to commit violence against my children, against my daughter. I got to do something and I got to settle for the fact that they are going to rape my daughter once. No, I reject the idea that I have to pick between their choices.
Mm.
Reject that idea. No, I'm going to give them a third option. I'm going to make you fear every bit of me and everyone around me because you are not going to do anything to my daughter, right? That's selfless sacrifice. That's the definition of can you now expand that to your community? Can
Mm.
you expand it to your neighbor? Can you say what they do to one of us, they do to all of us? Can you stand in that courage and in that faith that look, you just said it. I don't want to live in a world where it's going this direction, where this is truth. If this is truth, I don't want to be here, right? Well, great. If you get to that point and there's 1,000 million other people in
Mm-hmm.
your environment that feel the same way, then it's time. It's time to take a stand. I
Mm.
don't care about my next paycheck. I don't care if I go hungry. I don't care if I don't have gas. I don't care if I lose my house, my car. I'm gonna chase truth. And you are not gonna rape my daughter. You're not gonna rape his daughter. You're not gonna rape her daughter. You're not gonna rape his.
Mm.
You're not. And we talking about daughters, could be sons. It doesn't
Sure.
matter. You're not going after those most vulnerable to us. You're not doing it.
Mm.
As you get to that place where you reject their choices, now we have the ability to restore our community, restore our country, because these weak, feckless cowards on both sides of the aisle, because they're both terrible, right?
Oh, they're all demons.
They'll run for the hill.
Yeah.
They'll run for the hills.
Yeah. And then there's also kind of that humbling moment where you go, they lied about this, that, the other thing. And then you see in your own community, you see who they're lying about. And then it starts to dawn on you. You're like, oh, these people that have always been painted as, enemies of America. You go, are they? You start
Nope.
looking at, and I'm not saying that, no one's immune. Some people are just evil shits. But you start
Yeah.
looking at them, you're going, wait, they're calling all of us evil. They're calling all of them evil. And time again, you find out that's false. How far back does this go? What is that group? They're terrorists. And you start looking into it, you're like, dude, they're just in their own community. And like, you went in there and started steamrolling them with bombs. why wouldn't they act out against you? Why rationally? Why wouldn't they? If you're
Yeah.
some 10-year-old and you know guys with nods on come flying out of a helicopter and shoot your innocent uncle in the face on your birthday, or I've only been to a handful of weddings. They're the most beautiful things in the world, and I always think I remember saying this once to at my little brother's wedding. I was talking to my older brother. I was like, man, can you imagine if a missile just hit this place right now? How angry would it be? He looked at me and he was like, "What the fuck? Like, why did you just enjoy it?" I was like, "All right, sorry, but no, but seriously." He's like, he's like, "This is why you're not invited." But like, but seriously, think about that. Think about the most. It's all your family, your cousins, your aunts, your uncles, grandpa. Everyone's there. You're like, this is just the most beautiful. What a cherished moment. And then you think about those events in Iraq and Afghanistan are more than once they have been hit by missiles. Yeah, you would go for the rest of your life. You would go, I remember that day and I remember when a missile hit it. And I don't care who did it. I will find them and I will end them. You know what? I don't even blame them.
You can't.
You
You can't.
can't.
I mean, at the end of the day, and look, this is a hard truth. This is a truth where we have to socialize this. We have to have dialogue. Here's the other thing. I go out and talk to Democrats all the time. I
Yeah,
go to the hood and talk to people. I go to places where people hate me. I sit down and I'm like, talk to me. And they go, I don't want to talk to you. You're a Christian conservative. And I'm like, all right, well,
yeah,
let's talk about what you believe versus what I believe. And I love just sitting down talking to black people. You want to know why? Simple. Why is it that you don't want to have kids? Why do you want to have abortion? Talk to a young woman.
sure.
Have you ever had an abortion? She says, yeah, I've had one. Okay. Why'd you have an abortion? And she goes, because I can't afford to have a child.
Yeah, I don't want to bring a child here.
You can't afford it. She goes, yeah. I said, but you pay 56 cents on every dollar to the government. If you didn't pay 56 cents on every dollar to the government, could you afford a child? She's like, yeah, yeah. All right. So if you had that extra money, you would raise that child. Would you have had an abortion had you been able to raise that child and felt secure in the fact that that child would have what it needed? She said, no, I wouldn't. So we're genociding entire generations over convenience. While the government is taking our money and sending it to different countries. And she's like, I can't believe it. I mean, yeah, if I could, I can't go get a job. I was like, well, why didn't you go become a doctor? Why didn't you go become a pilot? Why didn't you go become a lawyer? Please don't become a lawyer. I made that. I'm sorry for all the people that are there. Please don't go
Scratch
become.
that, nix it.
But why can't you do something to be successful and to have opportunity? And 99% of the time, they're like, well, I never knew that was an option.
Hmm.
Because they went to some inner city school where they told them about you could be a social justice warrior, but United Airlines wasn't there recruiting anyone. I mean, now they're recruiting, I guess, retarded people because airplanes are falling out of the sky and tires are falling off and doors are blowing out.
Yeah. Oh
I
yeah.
mean, yeah, you're going, what is happening here?
It is a. You can't go back. That's the thing. Is like you can't go back to sleep.
Yeah.
I think that's maybe the real takeaway is you can if you're asleep, it's a nice cozy trip. But once you start noticing stuff and you start putting pieces together, you can't lay. You try to. You put your head back down on the pillow. You're like, go back to bed, go back. But you can't. You're like, fuck, I'm awake. You can't do it, and nothing's fun about it. And I totally get the appeal to not look into this stuff, but you do eventually have the realization of like, hey, man, again, it's the Titanic. It's tipping with every minute. The angle is getting higher. There's only so much more deck we can run. No one's coming to get us. Why are you being a downer? I'm not being a downer. I'm pointing out what's happening.
And look, once you know this, the next thing on your mind, and I tell people this all the time. Again, I'm like a broken record. There's four things I tell people to do: pray first, then stand, then speak, then act. It's biblical, right? Pray so you never become the very thing that you're fighting against,
Mm-hmm.
as you're liable. The first time that you have to raise your arms against somebody else, you run the risk of acting in anger. Like I don't act in anger. Like if when I get in a fight with someone because they're doing something to my family, I'm thinking about execution. I'm going to execute this in order to stop someone from hurting my family.
Mm.
Right. but you have to get back to prayer. You have to then bring it back to God.
Mm-hmm.
But you got to stand up. You got to speak truth. Always speak truth. That's not a man. That's not a woman. That's a man, right? And you're like, oh, you're a homophobe. No, no, you actually probably are gay because you're dressed up like a woman and you're a man. So maybe that's what you. So
Yeah,
you got. If you want to justify it yourself, you're still gay. But you could have a little fun with it while speaking truth,
sure.
right? And then act in it. They come at you, you're like, hey, listen, God is going to judge me by my character. He's not going to judge me by reputation, which man can screw up.
Mm.
So you're constantly looking at things differently. And when you go through those 4 steps, it becomes very difficult not to have confidence and the ability to find other people who are confident around you and then build that fraternity. And that one fraternity builds into something else. If we want to take over media, if we want to do the things that are necessary, we got to build platforms. Like we built the Frank Speech platform. And Frank Speech is an awesome platform. It's a free speech platform. You cannot get kicked off of Frank Speech. Well, that's not true. I mean,
You can
if
always
you're
get kicked off.
I mean, yeah, if there's certain things I won't tolerate, right? If you're talking hatefully about people and that's all you do, you're out.
Yeah.
I'll yeet you.
Well, there's also you have to remember that there are people who are going to platforms to purposely discredit it. You know,
Yeah.
start talking about pedophilia or something. Um, but no, that is, I would say, yeah, no, prayer is a big one. That through this podcast, one of the guys I met, Charlie Duke, youngest man ever to walk on the moon, one of 4 men alive who've walked on the moon. He's the one that turned me back to God, and this is after like 15 years of being an atheist. And my life has been indescribably better since then. And it doesn't mean it's not still scary and stressful, but there's an interior peace that you can go back to, and it's a true north. It's like a compass for your soul, and you're like, this is terrifying. I don't want to do this. I wish it was different. But people are, you're an idiot, and you're like, you're looking at the compass, and you're like, I have to walk in this direction. I don't care what the maps say. I don't care what the terrain looks like. I know this is north, and it's where I have to go, and I know I'm doing the right thing, and I would say that is kind of number one. If you don't have that, it's kind of hard to do anything else with real confidence.
Well, let me ask you a question about being an
Sure.
atheist. What led you to be an atheist?
Probably half of, so like I grew up in a Catholic household, going to private Catholic school. I think half of it was just you turn 15 and you're just like the priests are like, you can't have long hair. You're like, fuck you, I'm gonna grow long hair. A lot of it's just teenage angst. I have no doubt in my mind that that's a lot of it. But it was also just the more you learn, a science major, biology major, you start taking all these classes. You do start to you hit the scientific materialism where you're like, yeah, I don't. You start to try to seek explanation through physics and science, and that's all well and good. And for a while you're there, and I remember when I was an atheist, I didn't like it. I was like, I wish I didn't feel this way, but I can't. It's like I couldn't lie to myself about re-believing in Santa. But after enough time, I lost a brother to suicide. After enough time and through enough struggle, did start to realize, like, yeah, science is a great explanation of the mechanics of how things work. Like, it's the gears turning, and it's great, and you can find out about how a machine works, but it doesn't explain why. It doesn't explain the immaterial, the ethereal, the ineffable. Why am I here? What is consciousness? What is self-reflection? And that kind of eventually you reach a point where it is, to me, that is God. It's the thing that cannot be touched by a measurement or a ruler or a scale. Is
Let me
it's
ask you a
that.
question.
Yeah.
Yeah. You lost your brother to suicide. How old were
hmm
you?
I was 23, he was 27. A month from now will be 10 years.
How you feel about that? What do you
uh
think?
still hurts around this time of year.
My brother was murdered by a police officer in 2017,
I'm sorry, man.
and August 6th, 2017. That's a picture of him on there on the wall. So I walk in and I still to this day seek justice for my brother. But I think that for about a year and a half after my brother died, I was empty.
Hmm.
I was empty. I didn't. If God was real, then why did He let that happen to my
Mm-hmm.
brother? Right? And I love the Lord, but I think that science and who is science made by? It's made by man.
Mm.
And science, the idea of science is they're guessing, and science does not disprove God. Science would not exist without God. You would have no perfect kind of there would be no perfection in life. There would be no, direct balance between how far you are away from the sun. And I mean, did all that stuff happen with a big bang or that we came from monkeys? Man, I don't know if we came from monkeys. I think it's just stupid. Like I don't want to, and there's no scientific evidence that shows that we came from monkeys at all. It just doesn't exist, right? But they talk about it as if it does because of the fact that we're of who we are as people, mammals, right? So it it took me a long time, but I'm gonna share something with you. I think it's important. Um, I don't have faith that God exists. I know that God exists. You talk about the fact that you came to God, you came to know God and prayer, right? And you can't really explain it. My guess is you can't really explain why you got to that place,
Mm-hmm.
but you know that your life is better because you're in that place,
Mm-hmm.
right? And it's weird. Like you're more calm. You still see things from that lens of, am I invisible? Am I not invisible? Can God hear me when I mean, there's all these things that race through your mind. But more and more now, you're going to start seeing your life manifest. And manifestations does not happen. Good things don't happen to you by accident. It's not like God comes down and is like, hey, you know what? I'm going to take Tommy over here. You got
Yeah.
to go over here. I'm going to drop $1 billion on your
Yeah.
forehead. No, no. What he's going to do is he's going to make you, because of the compass of your life, steer you in a direction where good things happen to you. Even when bad things are happening to you, good things will manifest out of that
Mm-hmm.
happen, right? It's like having a tornado come through and then, there's just an amazing amount of goodness that comes out of that bad event.
Yeah.
And so, you talk about the terrorist that, that whose uncle got shot in the face by someone, right? Or shot in the head. Um, I've broken bread with those people. I've broken bread with people that you would call terrorists and seen the pain of losing an entire generation, 2 generations of people. And you can't help um but see God in that terrible event, because then your heart hurts because you had the experience with your brother. I had experience with my brother. I had experience with seeing other things. And so it helped me get to a place where I can love on them but still go to war.
Mm.
And so I think that's what God does. I think that's what that prayer does
Mm.
when you with prayer. Anyway, I don't know how we got on that, but
Yeah, no, no, no. That's what I love about the show. And I know I gotta let you run, but I was gonna say no. This is my studio, this is my workplace. But no, the one like thing I have that's not podcast related is I do just have a picture of my brother when I walk in, and yeah, I mean it sucks. Anger, emptiness. That was probably for me. It lasted, I don't know, 4 or 5 years. Probably half the time that has elapsed, it was just spent in just pissed off turmoil. I've tried to make sense of it. I don't really know if I'll ever reach sense of it. I've tried to, at least make it so it's not in vain. I try to be very open about suicide on this podcast and, mental health awareness and, have veterans on, talk about, nonprofits and all that good stuff. Um, it's,
do that.
yeah,
I'm in my office, sitting at my desk. See that?
yeah,
You know anything about guns?
very little.
Okay. You see that little nick in the middle of that primer?
Oh, yeah, it's where a firing pin failed.
Yeah. So it sits on my desk because I thought I was doing the right thing when my world collapsed in 2007, because I had a life insurance policy and my business failed and I got defrauded by a hedge fund. A lot of bad stuff happened at the same time.
Yeah.
Happened to coincide with me thinking that I was a cat's meow drinking my own Kool-Aid. So I put this in my gun and I sent my wife to get her nails done. And I laid plastic out and I put it to my head and pulled the trigger. You know what the chances are of this not going off?
It's like 1 in a trillion.
I don't even know what the statistic is for it, but it's not high.
Dude, the fucked up thing is like I know a couple veterans through this show who all have like a bullet with a firing pin. I'm like, how many times can this shit happen before you start going, hey man, I think God's guiding it.
He knows that he knows you at your most vulnerable. And by the way, I wasn't checking out for me. I
Yeah,
was checking. I grew up poor, and I didn't want my kids to grow up
sure.
poor. I want them to have
Yeah,
opportunity.
sure. Yeah.
So I will tell you that it's a real thing to talk about suicide, talk about
Mm-hmm.
pain that you feel, because there's a chance that somebody else is feeling that same pain, going through that same environment, and it becomes vital that that you can reach them with your words, even when you
Mm,
can't reach your hand.
mm. Yeah, and that is one thing I try to do through it, and I try to make sense of it, and ultimately I really more and more I am starting to look at this life like it's a curriculum, like it's a class. And if you don't pass it this time, you just got to retake it. And I'm like, you know what? I withdrew fail 3 straight semesters from pre-calculus in college, and I finally realized like if I want to go to medical school, I just I have to just stop bitching and take the class. And I did, and I finally got an A. And it was just a moment of realizing that there was no way to get to medical school and not take the class. And it was just like you know what? Fuck it. I gotta do the thing. I more and more so. I think that whatever it is we're learning in this life, because it does kind of seem like a weird dream. You're like, wait, I have to go up against this omniscient, tyrannical government that has, weapons from 1,000 years in the future and they can vaporize me from orbit. You're like, yeah, but I got to do the right thing. And you're like, what? And it's like, yeah, I think it's just like a thing I have to do. And I've probably been here before and I didn't pass the class. And you can keep retaking it forever. I mean, you can keep taking the class for eternity, but eventually you go, if I want to go to the next thing, I think I just have to pass the class. And that's more and more where I am mentally and spiritually. I'm just like, I'm not saying I'm not scared. I don't know how it will end. I don't mind dying. I hope I don't get like tortured. But if I get to maybe then that's part of the class too. But you know what? I just got to take the class. I don't want to keep kicking it down the road. And that's where I am. So every painful conversation I have about suicide or about the government seemingly dismantling our country or whatever, I'm just like, yeah, I know, but we got to do it. Just at the gym, I'm like, yeah, it burns. You just got to do it, and that's kind of where I am. We got censored. I'm like, all right, it's part of the class. I hate this class, but you know what? Eventually
Again,
it ends. Eventually it ends. Every lecture, you're like, fuck, this lecture's going on forever. It's only October. I still have 2 more months of class. Like, but eventually it does end, and you finish it, and you go, I did it. I did it. I'm so happy I did it. Let's go to the bar and get shit faced. And that's kind of where I am now. Is I'm like, I hate this class so much, but I'm gonna get an A, and then I don't have to touch it again.
well, if we get an A, well, we win, right?
Yeah,
We develop this environment where we can stop the censorship,
yeah,
stop all the bullshit that's happening. I mean, it just takes courage.
yeah,
And courage, by the way, is not being fear, not having fear. It's just acting despite that fear.
yeah. No, that's not having fear is so much better. It's liquid courage, drinking drink some alcohol. It's like that's not courage. If you get shit faced to go talk to a girl, that's easy. The hard part's trying to do that sober. Do that in biology lab. You're like, dude, your heart's pounding. You're like, hi, I'm Tommy. Like, no, that's courage. It's very easy to walk up slurring your speech. How you doing? I'm Tommy. That's not courage. That's easy as shit. That's vodka. Um,
Yeah.
yeah, I don't know how we got on this either, but
Oh,
I
don't
know,
remember.
I know, I gotta let you run. So let's wrap this up. But dude, I'd love to have you on again for a longer show sometime. I think we're on the same wavelength. I'd love to pick your brain more and just shoot the shit.
Yeah, I mean, I love talking about tech too. We just built a new tech platform. It's pretty awesome.
All right.
It's a chat and conversational AI that is not woke. That's based off of basically definitions, and the parameters that are built in it are emotional, because you're telling we told the platform using GPUs, not CPUs, super fast, super fun. But we told it that 50% of the time, the information that you collect is going to be not true.
Mm-hmm.
Tell what part is or is not true.
Mm.
It was able to go out and talk about that emotionally. So you could say, it would put something up and you're like, that's not true. We're done training, say that's not true. Where'd you come up with that? And it would then put articles in that justified it. Then when I go read the article, and I came back and said, wait, hold on a second. His name's not even mentioned in that article. So why would you say that? So then it would go back, it would read the article, come back and go, oh, that's right. His name's not in there, but they referred to it here. So we were able to train these models
Whoa.
how to basically put out true data on people like Donald Trump, myself, Roger Stone, you name it. And so the model would actually come back and tell you what was true based on the fact that it knew that there was a high probability that more than 50% of the time that whatever is in media or that they found on Google was a lie.
That's a yeah, that's a mature human trait of going, by if it's that quote, it's by the time you realize your dad's right, you have a son that thinks you're wrong.
Oh yeah.
There's that like at 33 now. Now when I say things on this podcast, I'm like, just from doing this podcast, I'm like, and now I know there's a 50% chance that in a year I'll look back at this episode and go, oh, fuck. Like, even not even like, oh, 20 years ago. I look at episodes from 3 years ago, things I'm saying with such like gusto and confidence. I'm like, oh, you idiot. You are so unbelievably wrong. It's impressive. And there I am. I'm like, ah, and yeah,
But when you come back to it, when you finally get back to the fact where then you come out and you talk about it, then
that's the
other people are
best.
like, maybe I was wrong.
That's the best feeling. It's my I've come to love the feeling so much of looking back and going, oh, I was it because the very first time it's humiliating and you get hot under the collar and you're embarrassed, but after a while you stop attaching your ego to it, and so instead you just start looking at things from a very detached manner. You're like, oh shit, I was wrong. Okay, all right, noted. Yeah, got it. And you're just like you maneuver through life so much more easily. You're like, oh, I was last night I was playing a video game with my friends, and I called in like an air support, and I thought I had thrown like the beacon like 100 yards or something, and I didn't realize I had hit a rock and it landed like 30 feet in front of us. And my friend's like, "Did you just fucking call in artillery?" I'm like, "Yeah, I." And I looked at it and went, "Oh man, that's entirely on me. I'm so sorry." And then we just got vaporized. But like, there's no point in being like, "No, I didn't." It's like it's being streamed. You can play back the video and see it hit the rock. Like, so it's just instantly you go, that's on me. That sorry about that. And then of course, the artillery comes in and turns this into hamburger meat. But you know, you remove your ego from it, and you go, oh fuck.
That
And
is authenticity.
yeah,
And that is what people know they can trust you. And
yeah,
when you're authentic, people know they can trust you, then you're with your tribe.
yeah, yeah. And it's a painful course, but as you move through it, life gets easier and almost a little less serious. Um, but yeah, I have your number. I'll text you this episode, and I'll text you and schedule another one. I'd love to talk to you again, man. That was great. I thoroughly enjoyed that.
Awesome. Well, I look forward to doing it again.
Fuck yeah, dude. I appreciate it. Guys, please go in the description. You can find the links to everything of Mr. Oltmann. And yeah, dude, I appreciate your time. That was fun. I appreciate it. It's a nice spiritual massage. I feel ready to go and take on the pedophile demons that run the planet right now. So
So sign me up for that. I'll buy the wood chippers. Feet first.
beautiful. All right, dude. Thank you so much, guys. Thank you for watching. Take care,
Recording
everybody.
stopped.
God bless. Much love. Peace. What a cool fucking dude. Yeah, guys, podcast sponsored by American Heart for Gold. Please go support this. If you like today's shows, I mean, the first one about Japanese comfort women, the second one about autism and infectious disease, and the third one about standing up to pedophiles who censor. If you like the fact that I can talk about all these different topics in one single day, let alone a week, let alone a month, um, please support the show in any way you can. And again, with American Heart for Gold, it's bullion, it's gold, silver, I would imagine platinum, palladium, and rhodium as well. You're not even really spending anything. You could take $1,000 and buy $1,000 worth of silver. You didn't spend anything. You spent $1,000. You spent $100 to get $100 bill. Like you didn't spend anything. You just have savings now. But it still manages to support the podcast. So if you use promo code Tommy, Text Tommy to 65532, or just go to American Heart for Gold. Use the link in the description. Go there. Use promo code Tommy. You get a chance to win $5,000 of silver, which is a little less than what I have right here in my hands, which is two 100-ounce bars of silver. They're heavy as fuck. Um. Uh. Yeah. Do that. Support the show. And again, it's just, regardless, bullion does happen to be something that I do spend money on. But even if it wasn't, even if it was something like, I don't know, pens or Tums, or whatever, I would still push it because they're supporting my show and my ability to do the episodes that I think y'all have come to know and love. Um, and that's pretty cool. You know, supporting free speech it's not easy, but it's something we all benefit from. So I would highly, highly recommend and ask that you go check it out and support the show, and because they're funding the show to a good tune right now. The show's still not profitable, but it's with American Heart for Gold, it has taken a massive jump forward to almost being at that breakaway point of bringing in enough money on its own to keep running. And once we hit that point, then it can just go indefinitely. You know, granted, I don't have kids or a wife or a dog or anything, and I'm a single male living in an apartment, but you know, the goal after this would be for the show to keep going and then start to make way more money per month than it puts out, and then it turns into savings, and the savings are used for right now. The show costs about $42,000 a year to operate. The goal would be that I think that for me the goal would, like, right now the goal is to make the show get $42,000 a year in income, so that it brings in as much as it puts out, and so that it can go indefinitely. The next goal after that would be that it makes $84,000 a year, so that it brings in enough to operate for a year, which is 42,000, as well as an extra 42,000 to put away a year's worth of savings. So if the belt tightens one year, the show doesn't have to shut down; it'll just go off of savings. So that's kind of my goal here. I'm pretty open about everything, but the fuck, I had to turn off the air conditioner. Jesus fucking fuck. I have to run the AC to keep the camera cold so it doesn't shut off. But I'm in Maine and in March, and it's fucking freezing. Um, but hell yeah, just turn that off. Oh yeah, it's gonna start warming up in here. Start getting all nice and warm. What am I doing? Um, Silver, gold, platinum, palladium, whatever. It's bullion, dude. Just go buy it. Just go buy it. And they do use silver in the nose cones of cruise missiles, so you know maybe you'll sell it to the government one day. I wouldn't, because then you'd be complicit whenever they do with the cruise missiles. But I figure if that's the case, then just cut out the middleman. Just go buy Northrop Grumman stock. Um, but in all seriousness, please go support the podcast. Yeah, anyone that supports this show, any company that stands by it and its ability to do interviews about anything and everything, I think is pretty fucking cool. So I hope you guys do too. And there might be a game stream tonight. There might not be. I'm not entirely sure. I'm pretty tired. I didn't sleep too well last night. All right, guys. Thank you so much for watching. Much love, everybody. Peace.